Hey, this is the last Mentor Monday of 2024. Next year, almost, that's almost correct. Next year, next week is New Year's Eve. So I figure that most of you are going to be in preparation for some fun. And you know what? Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. So technically, tonight is not a holiday yet. So some of you are probably still shopping tonight, trying to do your last minute things. I appreciate you being here tonight. Those of you who are kind of like watching, and those who will watch in the next couple of days, once you get a moment, let me say hello to a few people. Stan, who's joining us from Kentucky, Kathy, joining us from Ohio, Cheryl, who's joining us from freezing Massachusetts. Oh, I'm so sorry. It was in the 60s today. You know, like less than a week ago, it was nearly 80 at the beach here. It was crazy. So, but as my wife explains, that 60 something or 70 degrees in December does not feel like 60 or 70 or even 80 during the summertime or whatever because of the distance between the earth and the sun or whatever. I don't know. Something like that. It made sense to me. I'm sure it does make sense. I'm sure it's scientific. And, but anyway, it's been really, really pleasant over here. So I'm sorry to hear that. Marsha, who's joining us from Northern Virginia. If you're just making it in the room, we have not started yet, but let us know that you're here. Do me a huge favor, those of you who are watching, like this post. It'll take you 1 second to get on your phone and go boop, hit that like button on Facebook or YouTube. Even if you're watching us in the future, I realize some of you, many of you, most of you will be watching us in the future. But do us a favor, like this post and share it and comment. All those things. Tell YouTube and Facebook that we're doing a good job. If you ever join us for a Mentor Monday, you know we don't waste your time. We're always going to give you something that helps you grow in your proficiency as a coach or helps you grow your business. That's what our focus on Mentor Mondays always is. And we try our best to never, ever, ever disappoint. You can know this, that you're not going to show up and we're going to tell you to buy something before we actually give you the secret sauce. We're in the business of giving you the secret sauce every Monday. And you know what? If you like that, then we can help you in your journey in getting trained and certified and all of those other kinds of things. Let me see, who else do I need to say hello to? Cheryl says it is 18 degrees here this morning. Crazy. Deanna is joining us from Canada. Good to see you. Well, what I'm going to try to do tonight is I'm going to try to get us a step further into this series. And then we'll have like next week off. And then we'll be back after the first of the year to finish off the series. This series, of course, is called Mapping the Journey of Your Coaching Clients. And this particular week, oh no, why do we have that old slide up here? I need to fix that. Let me see if I can fix it really quickly. It is not help your clients find their why. This week is all about vision. Okay, well, sorry about that, folks. We should have fixed that. It's vision. How did we do that? How did we mess that up? Maybe because we were going too fast. Maybe I need a break for the end of the year. But no, this week is all about helping your clients discover their vision, because vision is what will actually help them increase their impact and actually finish what they start. And so we'll talk more about that in a second. Hey, I'll just kind of like distract everybody from my mistake and say hello to a couple of other people. Miles, who's joining us from San Diego. Dan, who's joining us from Indiana. Good to see you. All right, so let's jump into this. Let's first talk about vision. But if you have not got, if you want the slides tonight, text the word slides. Don't text other words, just the word slides to 833-258-7547. That way you can get the slides of everything that I'm talking about tonight. If you still want to take some notes, go ahead and do that, but you can have the slides, also the questions and activations that I'm going to show you that you can do with your clients and helping them, start to get clear about what their vision is of what they want. So I give you like a second to do that, and then we are going to jump in. All right, first off, where are we going to start? We're going to start with a definition of vision, because when I say vision, what am I even talking about? What I'm talking about, and I'm going to give you this definition that I've spruced up just a little bit, And it's the definition that Andy Stanley, there's a lot of different definitions out there. My preferred definition is this one that Andy Stanley wrote many years ago. And I've, again, spruced it up and upgraded it a little bit. Vision is a mental picture of what could be, fueled by a passion that it must be. So, again, I'll read it again. Vision is a mental picture of what could be, fueled by a passion that it must be. Not that it simply could be, but it not only that it should be, but there is a passion in you that this must happen, this must take place. When we say vision, we're talking about that picture of the future, and we're talking about a crystal clear picture about what that future looks like. So when a client comes to you, they're coming to you and they must want something. And people who don't want anything, their life really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Nobody's life makes sense if you don't really want something. But vision, when we talk about vision, we are talking about, we have to kind of go into the imagination. This is not something that has happened yet. It may, and there may or may not be evidence of this being possible necessarily because of something that someone has done up to now. But in the heart of someone, and that's why we say passion, that there's something burning in someone, that this picture of the future is something that could be and actually must be. And the passion gives you evidence of that vision. And I'll talk a minute about the need for that passion and that emotional component in it. Now, this vision could apply in a really, really large global sense, but that vision could also involve their family. It could involve their children. It could involve their city. It could involve a particular problem that they want to solve. It could involve some kind of an ambition, whether it's making money or it's and I would say that the vision has to be more than just simply making the money. What we're talking about is something that probably the money allows access to, that it creates the opportunity for. So vision can be something inside of an industry. It could be around an invention. It could be solving some sort of a crisis or a problem or something for a people group. So vision can apply to a lot of different kinds of things. The most important thing, though, is that when someone comes to you, because again, this whole series is about working with clients from the very beginning and moving forward. How do we have a really strong start and how do we have a really good start with new clients? I always tell our coaches, even at the beginning of a coaching session, when you're trying to clarify what that goal is, we have to come into an agreement together, coach and client, for what the goal is that they actually want. But I think of vision a little bit more. I would say the vision is a little bit bigger than just simply getting something done and achieving something. Vision really gives a goal something, it roots it in a much deeper way. Because sometimes people can go after goals, but the goal doesn't really mean anything, right? So the vision itself gives goal a meaning. This is why that there are emotions, there's passion, there's all of this thing that's connected into it. So I want something that keeps me up at night. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I want something that wakes me up in the middle of the night and I'm like wide awake thinking about that thing. I want something that gets me up in the morning. I want something that actually stirs me emotionally. See, goals in and of themselves don't really do that. Like, I don't think that goals really do the trick. So what we want is that we want a strong picture, a strong mental image, one that someone can really sink their teeth into, that we make this thing as tangible as possible, because what this is going to do is this is going to anchor the heart And now we know it's certain between us coaches, it's certain to the client. What is it that they're actually going for in their life? And it's not simply to achieve, X. It's something much bigger than this thing. And they should be able to visualize it. They should be able to taste it. They should be able to smell it. They should be able to see it. They should be able to have a mental picture of what life is going to look like over here once they're actually doing that thing, living into that thing, or the people that it's impacting, what those people look like on this end, what their life is like. That it's really the before and after. Because what do we do with clients in the very beginning? We get really clear in current reality where they are right now in relation to that goal. So I want to have it as clear of a picture as possible of what life looks like over here. That we should be able to be very specific. There should be no ambiguity when it comes to what that picture looks like. So, what I want to give you is 3 steps that you can begin to help your client really, as Andy Stanley calls it, visioneer. That you can start to take the steps, and I'm going to give you 3 steps that you can help a client go from vague to more specific when it talks about what does that life look like after they have achieved the thing that they actually want. So here we go. We're going to go to step 1. Step 1, first of all, is vision is non-negotiable. Let me say this really quick because I realize I'm cutting ahead. Maybe I'm trying to jump to the good stuff. Vision is non negotiable. First of all, what does vision do for people? It creates clarity. As I was saying, a powerful vision is specific. What it does is that it removes doubt and it replaces it with focus. Think about any kind of a goal that you're going after. Let's imagine if we were out and I realize that many of you have not done archery, but maybe you guys have thrown axes since that's like the big thing. The big thing that they're opening up is these axe throwing places. You can eat a meal and you can throw axes with your family. I don't know, but any kind of a sport has what? It has a goal, doesn't it? And there is a team goal, right? But anytime that you play a sport, whether it's basketball, whether it is football or anything, but I kind of think of like archery because that actually kind of gives us like a target. What do you do? Is that the clearer that you can see the target, the better the chances that you're going to actually hit it. If I'm just going out with a bunch of arrows in hand, and I'm just firing arrows, and reality is that there's a lot of people who do that actually in their life. It's kind of like this kind of scatter and hopefully that you're going to hit something. We definitely don't want to be coaching anyone like that. So the if I have a target over here, that's a great start in them actually achieving something. And when they shoot, that they could actually hit something. So if I'm shooting, and I mean, I could hit a barn, I could hit a tree, I could hit a person, whatever it is, where do we want to start? And usually what they'll do is, even in archery practice, is what do they do? They will draw lines, these circles, and they'll usually color them. They will make it distinguishable. They will make a distinguishing mark on a particular part because what are we going for? We're not going just to hit something, and we're not firing just to hit the target itself. What we're actually aiming for is the center. And so what happens is that the clearer that we are, the more likely it is that we can hit the target, like hit a bullseye, not just the target, but hit a bullseye. Now, here's the other thing that the target does, that clarity does, is that when you have clarity, not only if you miss and you miss a couple of times, then we know what sorts of adjustments that we need to make. Fire higher, fire lower, left, right, dial in a little bit more. What happens is that what should happen is that the more that you fire, the better your accuracy should increase till you actually hit the bullseye And what'll end up happening is that you hit the bullseye multiple times. The more times you hit the bullseye, the more points that you get and all of those things. So this is what we're doing. We're moving doubt, we're removing ambiguity. And what we're doing is that we're creating focus because now they know where they're shooting. And they also know if the strategy isn't working or if some of the steps that they're taking or some of the actions that they're doing is not actually working, now we know what to focus on and what to adjust. See, if you have no red dot in the middle of things, then we're just firing. Or if we only have a target and we're kind of hitting it, but is this really what the picture looks like on the other end? That's what that picture does for you. All right, simple enough. What is vision is a non-negotiable because it fuels emotional energy. Because a vision isn't just seen, it's also felt. It becomes the fire that keeps a person moving forward. And I'll say something that Andy Stanley said in his book on visioneering. He said, there's no such thing as an emotionless vision. So we are looking for that fire to really give us an indicator of where we're headed. If there is no fire, then I don't really have an expectation that this client cares enough about this thing to actually ever ultimately hit the target, hit the bullseye, and actually continue to move forward. So as we are getting vision, it's providing clarity, it's providing emotional energy, and then lastly, what vision is doing is that it's aligning the actions with purpose. Those adjustments, all of those things. When a client knows their vision, then what happens is that every decision that they make becomes a step towards it. Every adjustment, everything that everything is now it's a focus because now I've got a target. So how do we do this? Step one is to get crystal clear. Our key focus in getting crystal clear is that you got to help your clients divine exactly what it is that they want. So, how do we do that? Well, here's a question. If you could wake up tomorrow in your dream life, what would you see? What would you hear? And what would you feel? And be specific and actually paint the picture of what that looks like. Why am I saying multidimensionally with regard to see, hear, and feel? What I really want my clients to do is I want them to not only be able to kind of see this, because here's the reality is that in your imagination, um, we're really, really good, especially with things that hold us down, the things that keep informing our future, the things that shut us down, the things that trouble us or whatever. We have a very active imagination that is creating scenarios that, sometimes out of our worst moments, our most painful moments are also our most emotional moments. And what happens is that we go into these things, and what they continue to do is they continue to cause pain to us, something that might have been 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. They continue to cause pain. They continue to stir negative emotions and negative thoughts about ourselves. They continue to emphasize and re-emphasize old neural pathways that steal our confidence and make us fear things that we probably shouldn't fear. It also does a really good job of actually keeping us stuck where we are so that we won't venture to do some other thing. I mean, this is always happening in the imagination. Worry Worry about the future, fear about the future is another thing that we allow, and we feel those kinds of things because what are we doing when we worry? We're imagining the worst case scenarios. We're dreaming up. And so the imagination is actually very powerful because, as I've told you, your brain doesn't know the difference between past, present, or imagined. It really doesn't know the difference. And so our imagination can actually serve us, or it can really be our worst enemy. And so what we're doing even with this question is that I want them to think about this future. Roger Bannister was this guy who years ago broke the 4-minute mile, in running. And no one believed that a human being could actually break the 4-minute mile because no one had actually done it before. And people were actually still pretty far off from it. But Roger Bannister trained and trained and trained. And obviously, he worked on his timing, he worked on technique, he did all kinds of different things like that. But one of the things that he said when he finally broke the 4-minute mile is he said this. He says, I imagined myself, I pictured myself doing it time and time again. So that when he actually broke the 4-minute mile physically and got the record and everybody's watching it and everything else, is that when he actually did it, in his mind, he had already done it countless times. So what he had done is that he had already trained his inner life to actually and built his own faith and actually built a belief system in himself because his brain had already rehearsed it countless times. So the day that he breaks the record and everybody's celebrating, it was just another day at the office in here and in here. This is why it's so important is that if we can actually grab a hold of the senses, not just kind of like picture, like what when you picture things, as even worst case scenarios, you feel something, don't you? You remember something that was said to you. You remember what it felt like. You remember the pain of something. There are there as many of your senses as you could possibly engage all over again. Like you can hear the thing that was said, you can feel where something happened, all of those kinds of things. So if you want to try to build a culture of it in the same way that like a Roger Bannister did, means that we're rehearsing this constantly. But we want to begin our clients on that process as well. You can rehearse what you want. You can rehearse your worst moments. We're really, really good at that. You can rehearse what could possibly go wrong, or you could rehearse actually what you want the future to look like. It's completely your choice. But whatever you are rehearsing, you're also creating a neural pathway that enables you to stay where you are or to go places that you actually are determining where you want to go. It's a powerful place, and the imagination is completely within your control. So you ask this question, and you can guide them through a visualization. Ask them to close your eyes, step into that life. Where are you? Who's with you? What's happening around you? So I want to give you just a little bit of an activity in that. Now, here's an example. We're replacing vague goals like I want financial freedom. You notice how financial freedom, I was saying a while ago, that goals don't excite anybody. Like, who cares? Goals in and of themselves there's nothing dynamic about them at all. It might be a number. It's fine if you've got a number. I think number goals are really good. But what does the number actually represent? What does it represent when you go and, for those of you who are going through your training and certification, that represents something. Training and certification isn't your goal, by the way. It's actually an objective. We can argue what those things mean. But it's what you get leads to something. There's something that is a dynamic shift, a dynamic change. So instead of I want financial freedom, we want more of a vivid statement. I have $100,000 in the bank. I work 30 hours a week, and I take 2 vacations a year with my family. We're beginning to get a little bit clearer, and we are emphasizing. Now, step 2, add emotional intensity. Remember a while ago I said there are no emotionless visions. So we want to connect the vision to powerful emotions. Here's a great question. What makes this vision matter so much to you? And what's the feeling that drives you to make it real? Now, here's an activity. Imagine waking up in this reality tomorrow. How does it feel to know you made it happen? What's the first thing that you do to celebrate? And we can begin, and here's the crazy thing. is when people start using their imagination. In the same way that we can use our imagination to feel negative things, you can actually use your imagination to begin to cultivate and feel positive things. So here's an example of that. When I achieve this, I'll feel proud, free, and deeply fulfilled. I'll call my mom and I'll tell her she was right. I could do this. So it's a great example. Now let's get to step 3. So I want to get you guys out of here a little bit earlier tonight. Step 3, identify the core motivations. Align the vision with their values. And of course, we talked about this last week, what matters most. Now, last week, if you missed last week, I encourage you to go last week, where we're talking specifically about values. And one of the things that I showed you guys last week is how powerful values, what matters most, are to being kind of like a superpower to keep a client engaged, to actually anchor them. And it actually enables them to do things and sacrifice. We did this last week. I asked one of the questions that I asked last week to the group. I was like, hey, if you could get, if you were to be given $10,000, but all you had to do is put on 50 pounds for a year, would you do it? And most everybody said, no, 10,000's not, there's no way I do that. I love my health. And then we went to 50,000 and some people broke at 50,000. And so I asked that question, what made you break at 50,000? What made you break at 100,000? And some people were like, well, that would mean that I could get out of debt. See, what we started finding out, we started discovering what was most important to people. Health was of utmost importance until all of a sudden life could actually look different. And so we have people who are like, oh, I would actually sacrifice my own health for 1 year. I would actually sacrifice and be uncomfortable for an entire year for something to change. We went all the way to $1 million, and there were some people who weren't takers on $1 million. Then we had a question that was like, if it was guaranteed that your children would never suffer any kind of pain, disappointment, setbacks, they would live a long, healthy life, never have health issues, any of this other thing. And then we saw some people break at that moment, saying, you know what? Family was a greater value actually than my own personal health. It's actually more important that I would actually be able to see these things are the things that I want to see for my kids, not just money. See, that's the other thing, is that values being a superpower keep people in the game longer, keep them engaged longer, and when there are setbacks or difficulties, it allows them to grab a hold of something. So it makes sense that whatever this vision is, it has to involve the things that are most important, the people who are counting on them, the situations that are relying on them, and all of those things. Question: who stands to gain the most when you make this happen? And who loses if you don't? That's one way that we can ask it, because other people are counted on in the mix. And again, as I've said before, a lot of times people will quit on themselves, but they won't quit on the people that they love the most. So here's an activity. Write down 3 reasons this vision matters, not just to you, but to the people you care about. And here's an example. And I'm taking this example from the movie Cinderella Man. I don't know if you guys ever saw this movie, but it was a former boxer who had a lot of success. We see him in the very beginning of, he's got money, he's got all this stuff, and he's had a lot of success. And then the next scene, it's a Great Depression, and he's lost everything. He's missing his teeth. He doesn't have his health. They're living, they don't have electricity. He's literally lost everything. But he ends up getting a chance to fight again to make some money, because there's somebody who has some money. But, and so when he comes back, he starts winning. And then they open the door for him to fight against a really, really dangerous opponent who's a champion who people have died in the ring with, and very dangerous person and everything else. So they're in this press conference, and that was actually in the scene. And they said, Jim, something's changed. I mean, you used to be really good, And then things kind of fell apart. He says, but now you're winning. What's different? What's different with you, Jim? And this is what he actually says. He says, this time around, I know what I'm fighting for. And that person in the press says, oh yeah, well, what's that, Jimmy? And his response was one word: milk. It really galvanized him. It made it really, really simple. See, because what I said before is when you don't have a real clear picture and you're just shooting targets and maybe you hit some things, what happens is that people end up veering off in their life. Sometimes they lose sense of what is actually most important, what is most critical. And in this scene, it captured everything. Because what happened is that he got re-inspired, he got reinvigorated, and he actually got galvanized by knowing what was most important when he got this opportunity again. And then if you watch the movie, of course, I've got to ruin the movie, he does actually win the world championship after that and basically gets all of his life given back to him. It's a great story, Cinderella Man. You guys should watch it if you haven't seen that movie. Oh, by the way, if you have not gotten these slides yet, just text 833-258-7547. That first slide will probably have a wrong word in it, but the rest of it are all the new questions and all those other things. Hey, for those of you have not gotten trained and certified yet, here's your first accelerated opportunity, which is going to be January 4th, 2025. What we do is it's curated training. We take the best from boot camp and the life coach certification course. We start at 7 a.m. Pacific. We end at 7 p.m. Pacific, and you're able to knock all of your training out in a single day. What we did is we put all this together because we have some people who are like, that self-paced thing, I'm not really good at finishing. Sometimes I lose motivation and I lose focus, and there's a lot of different things going on in life. Or, I don't want some long dragged out where I'm showing up every Tuesday night. Or some of you are like, I work, I can't even do an entire weekend boot camp. So we've got all these opportunities that you can get trained and certified. But this is the one that we set aside for the people who know you got a procrastination problem. You work weekends. You know that it's really hard to stay on point with self-paced learning and everything else. What we do is that we turn the stream on at 7 a.m. We give you a great welcome, and then we dive in. We dive into these seven core sessions. Here's what all it includes: a full 12-hour Saturday training. You're also going to get the brandable templates, including coaching agreements and client welcome pack, because you're going to need these kinds of things when you're starting out your business. You're also going to get a coaching tool starter kit. You're going to get tons of question samples. Obviously, you're going to earn your life coach certification and certificate. And then we're also going to throw in bonus live Tuesday night training, because you're not just on your own after that Saturday. You can continue to engage with us when you're available, because Tuesday night training is an optional thing. These are the sessions, though, that we cover: foundations of coaching, and then you'll get a 15-minute break. And then we'll come back with the anatomy of a dynamic coaching session. And then you're going to get a 15-minute break. And we're going to go over how to help your clients get extraordinary results. We're talking about goal setting and accountability. And then you're going to get a 15-minute break. And then we've got 2 sessions on how to listen on a transformational level. Then we talk about how to ask powerful questions. And then we conclude with how to establish a growing coaching practice. Again, everything that we're doing on this particular weekend, on this particular Saturday, is also, we cover week by week on the Tuesday nights that are optional. It's a $3,500 value. We're giving it to you for $195. When you knock out all your training that day, all you need to do is to submit your assignments and take the exam, and you've earned your credential. Now, we also, for those of you who have already gotten your basic credential, we have our advanced certification in Christian coaching that will start February 13th. February 13th, that's about 7 weeks away, something like that, but we wanted to give you a big heads up on it. There's 6 weekly live sessions on Thursday. You're going to also get access to the Christian coaching community. You'll earn your advanced CPC certified professional coach credential. You're also going to get a guide of spirit-led transformational tools. We show you how to utilize these tools. It's over 60 pages of tools and questions. It's only $395 if you've already gotten your basic credential. If not, if you've not already earned your basic credential, what you can do is you can get the bundle, start working on your certification now because it's self-paced. For $495, you can get two credentials. You can get our basic credential, and then you can get the advanced credential when that starts off in February. You can do that by doing by enrolling later in this, but you can actually save a little bit of money if you go for the bundle now. But that's everything, folks. It's time to go have an amazing Christmas with family and everything else. Also, do me a huge favor, like and share this post. That tells Facebook and YouTube that we are doing a good job. And I guess I will sign off for the last Mentor Monday of the year. I'm going to see if I can get that screen back up. There it is. Sign off for the last Mentor Monday of the year. Um, I hope that you guys have an amazing time with your family over the next week. And also that you have an extraordinary stepping into this next year. I believe that 2025 is going to be our best year yet. I really, really believe that. And, one of the reasons why I believe that is because we had our biggest year at Life Coach Training Institute ever. And I'm not just simply talking about financials and all of these other things. I'm talking about I met some of the most amazing people this year, and our program's grown every year. But I've gotten to know many of you. You're amazing human beings. You want to see people's lives change. That gives me great hope for the future that every day we are training and we are certifying not only amazingly brilliant people, but people who truly love other people, and that they're not just stepping into coaching because they want to make $1 million. They're stepping into coaching because you actually have a vision for transformed lives. You're thinking about that every day. I hear it from our coaches all the time. They send me emails of breakthroughs and transformation that's happening in their clients' lives. That gives me such great hope that we are literally releasing an army of people who love humanity and are fully committed to seeing transformation. So I want to thank you for that. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your journey this year. We're not done yet. We'll pick up right where we left off in like 2 weeks. But I want you to enjoy and savor this time with your family. Savor a little bit of downtime because I know many of you are still working full-time jobs, and having a couple of days off means that you get to dream and you get to envision and write some things down for what you want to see literally 1 year from now. So listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Have a great rest of your week and take care.